Did you know that there are almost 40 million people in the United States who suffer from migraine headaches? Well, I didn't realize the number was that high, but I have been a migraine sufferer most of my life, and that's a little bit about what I wanted to talk to you about today. Migraines apparently are, I have always known that they affect women more than they affect men. It is about 3 times the amount of women that suffer migraines over men. I know that migraines are a neurological, debilitating problem that not only affects the person who's having the migraine, but it affects the entire household because just like any chronic illness, when one person is sick and not able to pull their weight around the house, everybody else has to pick up the slack for that. So it can be quite a household problem. Well, today we're going to talk about some ways that if you are a migraine sufferer, that you can track and try to analyze a little bit about what's happening with your headaches. Or really, you could use this for any chronic pain that you might be having to kind of track and document what is happening with your pain, what the pain level is, what relief is achieved, and that kind of thing. So, if that sounds interesting to you, stay with me. Well, hi everyone, this is Crystal from A Crystal Clear Life, where we focus on planning, organizing, and living a more simplified life. And today I want to talk to you about a problem that has plagued me most of my life and unfortunately now has been passed down to my daughter. And that problem is migraine headaches. I remember being in high school and I was on the basketball team, of course, because I'm a tall girl. And we had a game at home. And I remember going into the coach's office, nauseous, feeling like I was going to throw up, light hurt my eyes, and, all of those kinds of things. The coach ended up calling my parents to come and pick me up. And she let me lay on the floor in the dark underneath of her desk until my parents could get to me. That was what I remember as my very first migraine headache. And, not having experienced them before myself, I really didn't understand what was happening. But my mother had suffered from migraines most of her life. So once she and I talked about it, I understood exactly what was happening. And unfortunately now, my daughter seems to be having migraine headaches as well. So, as I said at the top of the video, migraines are a neurological problem in the brain that happens and causes these debilitating headaches. Some people get them behind one eye, behind both eyes, behind your cheeks. Some get them in the back of their head, that kind of thing. So there are lots of locations where these migraines can happen. Other symptoms might be, that you get nauseous, that you're sensitive to the light, that you're sensitive to smells. I have been in the situation myself in the past where I start cooking dinner and the smells of the food just make me nauseous, and I finish the dinner, cooking it for people, but there's no way that I could eat. So there's lots and lots of different symptoms. Now, I am not a medical doctor or nurse. I am simply explaining to you the symptoms that I have had in the past and how it has affected my life. What I really want to talk to you about today is having a tracker to help identify the symptoms, the triggers, that kind of thing. I think this is important because keeping track of your migraine symptoms and those attacks will help you improve your migraine management, will help you work with your care team, your doctor, your nurses, that kind of thing, to develop a plan that's going to work for you. One of the ways that doctors talked to me about managing my headaches was to kind of keep a journal about what might trigger the headache or what kinds of things that I did, hot, cold, medication, no medication, sleep, fresh air, those kinds of things. What helped relieve the pain for me? And so keeping that journal and being able to share that information is important. It seems like the longer that you track your migraine symptoms, you start to see patterns develop, and you can very clearly start to see what those triggers might be. They might be hormonal, they might be environmental, they might be weather related, that kind of thing. So it's important to know exactly what those triggers might be. And the other thing is that you don't want to make your migraine journal or your headache journal or your chronic pain journal so detailed or monotonous that it is really something that you don't keep up with. You really want kind of a simple checklist kind of thing that you can go back and look at and determine exactly what was happening, and then a way to track that over time. Because when you start tracking over time, that's when you start to see those patterns developing. Okay? Well, like I said earlier, my daughter now has started having migraine headaches, and she actually created a really nice migraine tracker that she said I could share with you guys. Hopefully, it will inspire some of you to create your own migraine tracker. Let's take a look at what she did. She created her migraine tracker in Canva, and then, when she downloaded it from Canva, she was able to put it as a PDF file. She sent me that PDF file, which I can simply insert and open in my favorite life management tool, which is OneNote. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, okay? All right, well, you see here on my screen, I am in my medical health and wellness notebook, and I have a lot of pages that I've created for my medical health and wellness notebook. I will leave a link to the playlist all about the medical things that I have if you would like to take a look at that up above and down in the description box. So see up here, this little red dot that you see, that is actually the file, the headache tracker that she sent me, the PDF file. And when I right click on that, I can say refresh the printout if there's been any changes, or insert the printout if it's not been put there yet, or I can remove the printout if I want to, okay? So this is what it talks about when it's talking about the printout. This is the form that my daughter developed in Canva. And you see up at the top, she has migraine tracker. And this is the kind of thing that you would use when you have a migraine. You feel one coming on. Usually I could tell within a couple of hours if it was actually going to be like just a stress headache or if it was going to be a full-blown migraine. So at that point, I would go and start filling this out. So the migraine tracker here has a place for the date and about what time you think that migraine is starting. And then at the end of the migraine session, you can go back and fill in the end time. And for me, it would have also been the end date, because I was the kind of person who, once I had a headache, it would last 3 or 4 days. My headaches were so bad at some point that we actually thought about not having children because that's how debilitating they were to me, okay? All right, and then you see down here she has these pictures of heads on the left side and the right side, the front and the back. Again, as I mentioned, sometimes, it may center over your left eye, or it may be, in the lumps of the back of your head, back here in this region. So being able to document where those are would be very helpful. Now you might be asking, well, Crystal, how would you document that? Well, at this point, I would simply go into my draw tool, and for this one, I would take a highlighter and I would choose a color, and I might just indicate, here it's in the front on that eye and it's in the back on this side, so that I'm labeling where those actual events are taking place, okay? Then she has down here a place for pain level. And, you might be able to start down here with, okay, well, this is where it starts. I'm at about a 2. But by the time it gets rolling, I might change colors and say, well, as it's going along, it's getting worse and worse. So it gets up to like a 7, okay? Or if you wanted to, you could simply just go in here and say, nope, it's a full-blown 8. This is where I'm at right now, okay? So you can mark it that way, all right? Then my daughter listed out a bunch of triggers. Now remember, she's making this for herself, so it could be individualized to the things that might trigger your particular headaches or your particular chronic pain, okay? So she has light. Is light affecting it? Um, One of the things that we first noticed when she first started getting headaches is when you drive or when you're riding in the car in the late afternoon and the trees are there, especially in the wintertime with no leaves, and you kind of get that flashing light of the sun shining through the trees as you're driving by, that would often trigger a headache for her, okay? Sleep, maybe you're not getting enough sleep, and so that is causing a problem, and that is a trigger. Did you take some sort of medication now that has started that headache? Are you hungry? You haven't eaten enough. You haven't eaten enough good food or protein or, whatever it might be. Are you having menstrual PMS symptoms? That might be a trigger for it. Eye strain, you've been working a lot, writing a lot, using the computer a lot, that kind of thing. Noises often can be a problem and trigger migraines. Motion, and sometimes these, go together. So like the example I was talking about before, she would be riding in the car and the light from those trees would be the things that would trigger a headache for her, okay? Stress can also be a trigger for headaches like this. Mine used to be almost a release from stress. So I could get through a very stressful event, and then once that adrenaline left my body and things were winding down, that headache would, kick off, and, I would be out of it for a while, okay? Sickness also can trigger headaches. Sinuses can trigger headaches. Weather, the changes in barometric pressure can trigger headaches. And then she added something on here that's specific to her, and that's clothing. She has an issue with, clothes that might be too tight or a tag that's touching her and bothering her. She also has glasses that she wears from time to time, and they might be too tight and causing, pressure on her face or something like that, and causing that to be a headache issue, okay? So a simple checklist here is very, very helpful and easy and quick to fill out, okay? Also over here, there is a place for you to check off what kind of weather it is. So for example, if you've got a thunderstorm coming in and you know that that's going to be a problem, as that barometric temperature changes, you can say it was sunny, but then a thunderstorm came in and that may have been a trigger, okay? You can also record on here how much water you've had for the day. Again, I'll change colors just so you can see. Maybe you've only had 3 glasses of water today and you're feeling a little bit dehydrated, and that's part of the problem. Then she has down here a place for recording your sleep. Was your sleep last night poor, average, or good? So you can mark that as well. And then your energy. Is your energy today low, medium, or high? Maybe it's medium and you're going, trying to get things done. Maybe your activity level is average for today. You're just able to check these things off, okay? Then she has over here a place for symptoms, and these are things that, you might feel as the headache is coming on. So for symptoms, she has some of the common symptoms that she has felt herself, and that she knows that I have experienced as well, okay? So nausea, being sick to your stomach, actually throwing up or vomiting. Light sensitivity, where you just feel like even the soft lights in the house, really are bothering you. Noise sensitivity, smell sensitivity. That's something that I have always had a problem with. You go to the theater and there are ladies who are sitting in the theater who think, oh, they're going for a night out, so they have doused themselves in perfume. And I can't, that will instantly trigger a headache for me. I have actually sat through theater performances like this, smelling the back of my hand, because I am not somebody who can deal with all of those very strong smells. Candles have the same effect on me, so I have to be very careful about those things, okay? Another symptom she has down here, is it worse when you're moving, if you're walking around, or, if you're exercising or something like that, does that make it worse? Do you have any dizziness? Do you have any back or neck pain that might be associated, with the headache? Do you have brain fog? You're not really remembering what you're doing, how you got to where you are, that kind of thing. Did you wake up with the pain? And then you see here that she has a couple of extra things there. I would add something like, I'm unable to eat. Like I said earlier, sometimes the smells bother me so much that I can't eat anything. And there were days that I would go through and not have any food because it would make me sick. Okay? All right, so that's kind of the top checklist situation that she has up here. And then as we move on down, you can see that she has pain type. And again, these are the common types of pain for migraine headaches, and it's very simple. You can just check it off. Is it a constant pain? Is it a squeezing pain? Is it more of a throbbing kind of pain? Is it pounding, which is like stronger than throbbing? Is it just a dull ache? Is there a burning sensation? Do you have sharp stabbing pains, like right through the eye or right into the temple? And is it debilitating? Are you able to continue functioning, or do you just need to go crash somewhere, like me curling up under the desk of the coach in the coach's office that first day that I had a headache? I certainly would call that debilitating. I was not about to go out on the basketball court and run up and down, and try to play the game. Okay? So again, these are things that you can just check off, or you can highlight, or you can, whatever works for you. I'm hoping that you're getting some good ideas about how to create a migraine tracker for yourself, or a chronic pain or headache tracker for yourself. If you are getting some good ideas from my daughter's design here, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the hype button. And please feel free to share this video with anybody that you think would benefit from this information as well. Okay? All right, now let's get back to once your headache starts. She's added a section in here for relief measures. So medication, there's a place here where you could go in and you could type, if you wanted to, type right into this form. You could go in here, set the picture as a background, so that it's no longer just a graphic, and then I can go in here and type. So maybe you've taken some Advil, or maybe you have some prescription medication that you've been given, whatever, to try to take care of your headaches. And then they want to know, did it help, yes or no? And again, here, you can just check this off. No, it didn't help at all, okay? And then if you want to go on down to the next one, so food and water, I would type here, unable to eat anything, okay? There were times that I would take my medication and I would take a Coca-Cola, which I don't drink sodas. This is how desperate I would be, but I would take a Coca-Cola and pour it over crushed ice and drink that really, really, really cold caffeine to help get that medication into me. And the cold, putting the ice in my mouth and having that cold right up underneath where the headache was, was pretty beneficial. So sometimes that would be, how I would take my medication and go ahead and try to get something on my stomach. I know a Coke is not good for you, healthy to eat, but in this case, I was really looking for the caffeine, probably, and the sugar boost as well, okay? Let's see, then you could go on down here and say, fell asleep at 3:30 p.m. until 7:30 the next morning. Okay, so you got some good sleep and maybe that helped, all right? Sometimes they say exercising, so not exercising for me, but deep breathing might have been able to help, okay? And then heat or cold. Let's see, I have been known to take hot showers or use a hot water bottle that I use as my pillow, for whichever side is hurting. So that's how I have used heat before. And then cold, like I said, I have used ice. I have an ice pack that, it's like a mask, that you put on. You keep it in the freezer and you put it on. Uh, and I have used that before, okay? And then there are other things that you might want to try. I know some people try fresh air, to go outside and breathe some fresh air, and a slow walk. That never really worked for me, but I know that's one thing that some people have tried. Okay. All right. And then again, there is a space over here for you to mark whether each one of these things helped. Okay. So no for food. Sleeping well seemed to help a little bit. Exercise, I did a little bit of breathing. That seemed to help calm me down enough to be able to go to sleep. And that was after my hot shower, and the cold pack did not work. I needed help for this particular headache, okay? So basically what you have here is you have a snapshot of a headache incident, okay? So this one may have taken place on one particular day, okay? Now, you might have multiple pages of these things, because if you're somebody like me, you would get 2 or 3 headaches in a month, sometimes more. And so in my journal, I would just have had a page for migraine tracking, okay? What you can do now that you have this information is my daughter also set up a yearly migraine tracker, okay? So what she has down here on the side is the months of the year, so January all the way down through December, and then she has the days across the top, okay? And she has a list for pain level. And so you can see here, if I use this one as an example, my pain level on this particular day was an 8. And for 8, she's got kind of this dark orange color. Let's see if I can get probably that one, more of an orangey red. Okay, so if I were to say today is, what is today? Today is March 13th, or excuse me, May 13th. So I could just go in here and I could just fill this block in with the proper color, just like that. And so then I would know that this was a day that I had had a headache, okay? And if you go back and, maybe you have filled this in the past, so, you can see different things that were filled in here. Maybe you have some more milder ones, so, maybe some yellow colors also. Maybe this was a yellow on this day, and then it got a little bit stronger, and you had a yellow one over here that kind of went into the next morning. Okay, that's kind of the nice thing about being able to have a chart like this that you can cross over, those lines, because oftentimes they might start in the afternoon and they're still continuing into the next day. So you can, color it across if you need to, okay? Then when you look at this information, you can start to see patterns. You could also go in here if you wanted to, and, you could do things like, okay, I'm going to add a dot like this. I'm going to add a dot, if the medication worked. So let's say I put a dot right here. Let me make that a little bit bigger so it shows a bigger dot. There we go. A bigger dot like that to show that the medication actually worked, okay? Maybe it didn't work on this one, okay? So I'll put my dot like that, okay? So you can tailor it to however you want. So if you want this dot to mean that your medication worked, then you could just come up here and make a text box that says medication worked. Okay, so then you have that as another part of your key. All right, so you can kind of build out your own key for what you think, would work and not work. I really just wanted to share with you today this migraine tracker, or this chronic pain tracker, to give you some ideas of a great way to start journaling about what kinds of pain you might be having. And a great way to be able to track that. Now, I have this all stored in OneNote. It's in my health and wellness notebook, like I said at the beginning, and I have it here as a page template. So really, if I wanted to use this time after time, what I could do is I might just call this. I would make a copy of it, make a copy of this page, okay? And I would probably keep it in my own section of my own notebook here, okay? And I would, I'm going to put it and leave it in page templates for right now so that you don't see my private information. But I would then go in here and I would label this, I would put the date. So let's say if this one was for the 13th of 2026, okay, that would be my migraine tracker for this particular day. Okay, and then this one I would not leave on this page. I would have a yearly migraine tracker under my own name, my own folder, so that I could kind of keep track of all of that. So I would keep both of these pages on separate pages in my notebook. I put them on one page today to be able to share with you guys. Okay. All right. Well, let me know what you think. Do you suffer from migraines? If you do, I feel sorry for you. I suffered with them from the time I was a teenager until I was well into my 50s. They seem to have abated over the past few years, thank goodness. But unfortunately, my daughter seems to have inherited them from me and my mother as well. Anyway, but let me know in the comments. Have you found any good ways to track your chronic pain, or any solutions that I have listed here that maybe you have some other ideas that I didn't think about or that my daughter didn't think about? Anyway, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Like I said, she made this in Canva, and she's pretty good with layout, I think. I really think she comes up with some great ideas for things. So if you like this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And until next time, here's hoping that you can live a more simplified and organized life, and hopefully pain-free, through better planning and recording. I use OneNote for just about everything. Until next time, okay, bye.